What if I told you the warmest ocean on Earth physically reverses its entire current system twice every single year? Or that the largest African island was settled by brave explorers sailing 7,000 kilometers across open water from Asia? Welcome to the Indian Ocean, a tropical paradise that has quietly become the beating heart of modern global geopolitics. From an impossibly straight line on the seafloor to a forbidden island, we will explore this ocean's bizarre geography. While most ocean currents flow predictably year after year, the Indian Ocean acts as a highly rebellious, unpredictable giant. Its surface currents are entirely ruled by powerful monsoon winds, which violently shift direction with the changing seasonal cycles. In winter, cold winds blow from the northeast, driving the vast ocean waters directly toward the eastern coast of Africa. But in summer, Asia's heated landmass forces these powerful winds to abruptly reverse, blowing from the southwest. Consequently, the massive ocean currents near the African coast reverse their flow, a unique phenomenon unmatched anywhere else on Earth. This massive annual reversal acts as the life-giving pulse of the entire region, shaping both nature and human history. When the currents reverse, cold and nutrient-rich water rises from the deep ocean floor to the sunlit surface. This nutrient surge feeds massive populations of marine life, supporting millions of people living along the coastal borders. Without this seasonal reversal, the climate and agriculture of the entire Indian subcontinent would completely and utterly collapse. This ocean acts like a giant geological heart, taking two massive, powerful water-pumping strokes every single year. Ancient mariners noticed this rhythmic cycle and used it to travel the seas long before understanding its scientific cause. This natural atmospheric breathing of the ocean allowed entire global civilizations to rise, trade, and prosper along these shores. But this warm water hiding behind Asia's massive continent creates a highly dangerous, unseen geological paradox. Unlike the Atlantic and Pacific, the Indian Ocean cannot release its heat into the freezing Arctic waters to the north. Consequently, it functions as a colossal heat battery, maintaining the highest surface temperatures of any ocean on Earth. While warm waters please tourists, they create a silent, terrifying threat to the delicate balance of marine life. Warm water physically holds far less dissolved oxygen than cold water, creating a highly hostile environment for marine creatures. This physical limitation creates massive, suffocating, oxygen-starved dead zones in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. In these vast underwater deserts, almost no marine life can survive, threatening the vital fisheries of developing coastal nations. As our planet continues to warm, these suffocating dead zones are rapidly expanding like an unseen plague under the water. The very warmth that attracts tourists to these beautiful beaches is slowly suffocating the rich life hidden in the depths. These underwater deserts are spreading silently beneath the beautiful blue surface, threatening the survival of millions of coastal people. If you examine the northern borders of the ocean, you will see a highly distinct giant letter M shape. The Arabian Peninsula, the Indian subcontinent, and the Indochina Peninsula form the sharp, grand peaks of this geographic crown. This unique coast acts as a colossal atmospheric funnel, trapping massive amounts of evaporating moisture from the warm water. Since the giant Himalayas block the path north, this moisture has absolutely nowhere to escape except to move inland. When summer monsoon winds blow north, the giant letter M channels this moisture directly onto the Indian subcontinent. Blocked by the massive mountains, this moisture condenses, releasing the most powerful and vital monsoon rains on Earth. These monsoon rains literally feed billions of people, dictating the agricultural success or failure of the entire region. A weak monsoon season brings devastating drought and famine, while a strong season triggers highly destructive, deadly floods. Thus, the precise shape of these coastal land masses and mountain ranges dictates the survival of entire global populations. Now, let us dive deep to the ocean floor, where a highly bizarre, nearly perfect geological feature lies hidden. Stretching for 5,000 kilometers along the 90th meridian, a massive underwater mountain range runs in a perfectly straight line. Named the 90 East Ridge, this feature was not created by tectonic plate collisions like traditional mountain ranges. Millions of years ago, the fast-moving Indian plate traveled directly over a stationary volcanic hotspot in Earth's mantle. Like a burning soldering iron, this hotspot melted through the moving crust, leaving a perfectly straight volcanic scar behind. This unique ridge serves as a perfect physical tape recording of the speed and direction of India's ancient tectonic journey. Geologists read these underwater volcanoes like pages of a book, with the rock growing older as you travel north. It visually documents how a massive continent raced across half the planet to crash into Asia, raising the Himalayas. Few places on Earth offer such a clear, neat, and highly detailed physical record of continental drift. While most oceanic islands are volcanic or coral, the inner Seychelles Islands present a highly baffling geological anomaly. These pristine tropical islands are composed entirely of ancient granite, a rock type usually found only on continents. This continent-type rock completely shatters the rule that deep ocean islands must be young, volcanic, or coral. In reality, the Seychelles are the towering granite peaks of a massive, ancient continent that sank beneath the sea. When Gondwana broke apart 65 million years ago, a small piece of continental crust was left drifting entirely alone. This ancient isolation allowed highly unique, prehistoric plant and animal species to survive flawlessly on these isolated granite peaks. The famous Coco de Mer palm brings the largest, heaviest seed in the entire plant kingdom, weighing up to 30 kilograms. Millions of years of total solitude converted these beautiful islands into a prehistoric sanctuary for rare, ancient life. Now let us transition from nature to humanity, as this ocean's human history is equally breathtaking and grand. We assume globalization is a highly modern concept, but this ocean formed the world's first global economy centuries ago. The incredible reliability of the monsoon wind cycles served as the powerful engine driving this massive, ancient trading network. Because these winds blow northeast for 6 months and southwest for the other 6, navigators needed absolutely no complex instruments. By the 1st century, a Roman merchant could catch the wind in Egypt, sail to India, and return home easily. This highly predictable monsoon market successfully connected the Roman Empire, Han China, and the powerful dynasties of India. Long before the overland Silk Road reached its absolute peak, this massive maritime network flowed with wealth and ideas. Port cities became vibrant cultural melting pots, where merchants from different continents lived side by side in absolute peace. This ancient maritime globalization was born directly from the highly unique physical geography of the Indian Ocean itself. But here lies one of the most shocking, highly unexpected demographic anomalies in all of human history. The massive island of Madagascar lies a mere 400 kilometers from the eastern coast of Africa. Geographically, one would assume the island was settled by African tribes from the neighboring mainland continent. But amazing genetic and linguistic studies prove the very first settlers arrived around the 5th century from Asia. These ancient mariners traveled 7,000 kilometers across open ocean from Borneo and Indonesia to settle here. Utilizing double outrigger boats and navigating by stars, they crossed the vast ocean without any modern navigation tools. Today, the native language of Madagascar shares 90% of its core vocabulary with a specific dialect of Borneo. This incredible maritime achievement proves ancient humans viewed the vast open ocean as a highway rather than a barrier. The sheer courage of these people, crossing the widest water space ever colonized, remains a profound historical mystery. Centuries later, this ocean witnessed one of the grandest naval enterprises in the entire history of the world. In the early 15th century, the massive treasure fleet of China's Ming Dynasty completely dominated these waters. Led by the legendary Admiral Zheng He, China launched 7 grand expeditions involving over 300 massive ships. His flagship reached over 120 meters in length, 5 times larger than Columbus's tiny vessel. Zheng He traveled from China to Sri Lanka, Arabia, and the far eastern coast of Africa, collecting valuable tributes. Unlike later European conquerors, the Chinese did not seek to colonize land or forcefully seize valuable spices. Their main goal was to display the wealth, power, and absolute dominance of the glorious Ming Emperor. The sudden cancellation of these grand voyages and the total destruction of all naval records remains a massive mystery. Had China not withdrawn its legendary fleet, the entire subsequent history of our world would be completely different today. Instead, the giant ships rotted, the blueprints were burned, and China permanently closed itself off from the sea. Amazingly, this same ocean birthed the legal concept that today governs every single sea and ocean on Earth.
The powerful idea that the sea belongs to absolutely no one, and yet simultaneously belongs to all of humanity. For millennia, the Indian Ocean remained a free sea, where merchants traded without any violent state intervention. But in the late 15th century, Portuguese explorers arrived, trying to establish a highly restrictive, closed sea system. They demanded that every merchant ship purchase a special license to trade, sparking intense legal conflicts in Europe. In the 17th century, a Dutch jurist named Hugo Grotius wrote his famous revolutionary treatise, The Free Sea. He successfully argued that the ocean is fluid and infinite, and therefore cannot be owned by any nation. This revolutionary legal argument, born from spice trade wars in the Indian Ocean, formed modern international maritime law. Today, the fundamental principle that any ship can freely navigate open waters originates from these ancient spice disputes. The very freedom of global trade, which we take for granted, is a direct legacy of this ocean's history. Now, let us share a chilling story of absolute human survival against the planet's most unforgiving geographic conditions. In 1761, a French ship illegally transporting slaves from Madagascar wrecked near a tiny, flat, sandy island. The French crew built a small raft and escaped, promising to return, but help did not arrive for 15 years. For 15 years, a small society of abandoned people survived on a barren sandbank with absolutely no trees. They dug 5 meters through the hot sand to reach fresh water, keeping a fire burning for 15 consecutive years. They fed the fire with driftwood washed up by the sea and constructed crude shelters out of coral blocks. When a rescue ship finally arrived in 1776, only 7 women and an 8-month-old baby were left alive. Their archaeological remains stand today as a silent, powerful monument to the incredible resilience of the human spirit. This tragic history remains a bitter reminder of the cruelty of the slave trade and the ultimate will to survive. Returning to modern times, the Indian Ocean today serves as the busy, vital artery of the global industrial world. This ocean carries the primary trade routes for global oil, connecting Middle Eastern oil fields with Asian factories, European homes. Approximately 40% of the world's seaborne oil passes directly through this ocean, squeezing through 2 highly critical choke points. The first is the Strait of Hormuz in the northwest, carrying 20 million barrels of crude oil every single day. The second is the Strait of Malacca in the northeast, narrowing to a mere 3 kilometers at its tightest point. Yet this narrow strait carries the entire energy supply for China, Japan, and the manufacturing giants of South Korea. Consequently, the Indian Ocean has quietly become the most heavily guarded and patrolled body of water on the planet. If a hostile power closed just one of these narrow straits, the global economy would freeze within a few days. This explains the silent, highly intense geopolitical struggle occurring between the world's greatest naval superpowers for control. These narrow waterways on the map represent some of the most valuable, heavily protected real estate on the planet. But this very same ocean also serves as the front line for a terrifying environmental threat: rising global sea levels. The Maldives, a beautiful chain of 1,200 coral islands, represents the absolute lowest nation on the entire planet. Its average ground height is a mere 1.5 meters, with its highest point lower than a basketball hoop. As the ocean warms and expands, the Maldives faces the terrifying reality of becoming a ghostly, uninhabitable nation. To draw global attention, the government once held a formal cabinet meeting underwater, using professional scuba diving gear.
Today, they are seriously exploring desperate engineering solutions, like constructing massive artificial islands raised high above the waves.
For the people of the Maldives, the threat is not abstract, as even a minor sea rise could flood entire islands. This geographic reality raises difficult, unprecedented questions for which modern international law has absolutely no answers. Where will the population move if their homeland completely vanishes beneath the rising, unstoppable turquoise tides? And does a nation remain a sovereign nation when it no longer possesses any physical land on Earth? Meanwhile, where the Indian and Pacific Oceans meet, human geography has fused directly with human biological evolution. Here live the Bajau people, famously known as sea nomads, who spend nearly their entire lives living on wooden houseboats. They have wandered these warm tropical seas for over 1,000 years, surviving entirely by freediving for fish. This unique, deep-water lifestyle has physically and genetically altered their physical bodies over generations. Scientific studies revealed that the Bajau possess spleens approximately 50% larger than their land-dwelling neighbors. The spleen functions as a natural scuba tank, injecting oxygen-rich red blood cells into the bloodstream during deep dives. Thanks to this genetic adaptation, the Bajau can hold their breath for minutes and dive 60 meters deep. This represents a stunning, real-world example of how ocean geography can directly steer human evolutionary biology. Their young children actually learn to swim gracefully before they can even walk confidently on dry land. But nearby, on an isolated island in the same region, lives a tribe that has violently rejected the outside world. This is North Sentinel Island, home to the Sentinelese, the most isolated and uncontacted human tribe on our planet today. The Sentinelese have fiercely rejected any contact with outsiders, defending their isolation with lethal force for thousands of years. The local government established a strict exclusion zone around the island, protecting both the tribe and curious modern travelers. Because of their long isolation, the Sentinelese possess absolutely no immunity to common modern diseases like flu or measles. A single friendly handshake with an outsider could easily wipe out their entire population in a matter of weeks. Thus, this forbidden island remains a unique pocket of human history, completely frozen in time, untouched by modern technology. It is fascinating that in our modern age of satellites, humans still live exactly like their ancient ancestors did. Perhaps the most respectful and humane action we can take is to simply leave them in absolute peace. This is the true magic of the Indian Ocean, hosting both sea nomads and a completely isolated ancient tribe. While the 20th century was economically dominated by the Atlantic, the 21st century belongs entirely to the Indian Ocean. Over 3 billion people live along its borders, representing more than a third of the entire global human population. The rapid growth of India, Indonesia, Pakistan, and East Africa makes this region the most dynamic on the planet. Here, the strategic interests of ancient and modern global superpowers collide, driving international trade, military presence, and political tension. By 2050, the nations surrounding the Indian Ocean are projected to generate over half of all global economic growth. While the Atlantic once separated the old and new worlds, the Indian Ocean acts as a colossal global shared square. It connects the fastest-growing markets, diverse cultures, and valuable natural resources within a single, highly active marine basin. It is not the largest, the most explored, or the coldest ocean, but it is undoubtedly the most fascinating. Looking at the ancient civilizations that rose along its shores, we realize this ocean will continue to surprise us. From currents reversing twice a year to lost microcontinents, the Indian Ocean is far richer than it first appears. Perhaps our habit of viewing this ocean as merely a beautiful tropical resort is the greatest misconception of all. In reality, we are not looking at a sleepy holiday destination, but at the world's new, beating economic heart. Thank you for embarking on this incredible journey across the world's most mysterious, highly classified ocean anomalies with us. The Earth is slowly giving up its deepest secrets, proving our historical textbooks are severely incomplete and flawed.
We are finally learning how to read the terrifying ancient warnings carved into the silent stone and seafloor. Which of these incredible Indian Ocean anomalies do you believe holds the most dangerous secret for our modern world? Share your fascinating theories in the comments section below,
And let us know what you think is still hidden. Make sure to subscribe to Remnants of Time right now so you never miss another dark historical documentary. Hit the notification bell to join our elite circle of investigators before the algorithms bury these truths forever. Thank you for watching, stay vigilant, keep questioning, and we will see you all in the next silence. Until then, remember that the ground beneath your feet is always keeping score. Sleep well. Sleep well, knowing that the deep blue ocean is always watching, holding secrets we are not yet ready to know.